let me just say how honored I am. I am beyond words. And rarely am I speechless, and I won't be speechless now because I know that's not what you signed up for. But I am really moved that someone can look at your life and capture the essence of it. And it just matters so much. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Sharon. You didn't read my resume to a T, thank goodness. You know, sometimes people get it and they start from the back and they move all the way up to the front and the program is over. And so I just appreciate you really thinking about how much it meant to me to serve in the role at Walmart, and I hope I made a difference. I think I did. It definitely mattered to me because what it did was it really taught me as a physician how corporate really thinks about their associates, how they think about their employees, and I found out a lot, and I found that the corporations really do care. And sometimes we just have to keep sharing with them the information so that they get it right. And hopefully when I finish speaking today, we'll think about how we help our corporations to get it right. You know, I really do feel a lot of power in this room. I sort of went around and sort of stuck my head in some of the other workshops, and I can tell you there are some really, really powerful women here. And I hope you all appreciate the high potential and achievement that's in this room. And it's great for me to be here, and it's great for me also to be in the essence of the other winners. I mean, I was overwhelmed when I went back and did my research and recognized that these were women who've done stuff like support global war victims, they've done humanitarian causes, they've been fighters for survivors of sex trafficking, and really worked against domestic violence. And I can tell you, those are all the things that I've been passionate about as a OBGYN reproductive endocrinologist, but just as a woman. And so I am really, really excited to be amongst these women, and I humbly thank you for this recognition. You know, I was humored on Sunday evening with my husband, who was stopping through Atlanta after caring for his mother for the last 10 days, who in Sandersville, who actually has very, very severe Alzheimer's and is really going downhill. And he's been with her for the last 10 days. But on his 3-hour stop, he was pointing out to me that I was going to New York to accept an award based on my work as a working mother, and the two people who I've probably done most of the work on behalf of, my son and daughter, were too busy to come with me. Our life is pretty hectic right now. I accepted this role a while ago and started on June 27th, and my daughter, who is a rising senior, will stay in Nashville with my husband because she is a scholar athlete. She's the starting point guard on the basketball team, and her coach would probably stroke if she wasn't going to stay. My son is going to move with me, and he's a sort of computer graphics game design person, and luckily we were able to find a school that will allow him flexibility to do the things that he's interested in. And so they're in camps this week, of course, that we paid for 6 months ago. And so, you know, I sort of tried to ease in there that, you know, it might be nice if my kids were sitting in the audience, and they were like, no. And so I have some good friends. I have some posse friends who hang out with me, so thank you, friends. Thank you for being here with me. But I say this because I know all of you all live this. I mean, and I think that one of the things that we have to be reminded of, first of all, the sacrifices that we make, but also the sacrifices that our family make. And we sometimes have to make sure that we don't put our stress on them because they do have lives. So I was definitely understanding. And so I have to give a shout out to my 7th grade teacher, Miss Betty Davis, who's no longer with us, but I'm sure she's listening. And she would say, always carry an ounce of humility with you. So it is really with humility that I share with you some thoughts today. One of the things that I would like to sort of blend in is my role as a mother, my role as an advocate, my role as a friend, my role as an aunt, my role as a leader, all of those things that many of you all are. And clearly, as a mother of a 15-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter, I have to balance a lot. I was very fortunate, as many of you all are, to be a product of a strong mother. My mother rose to be the highest-ranking woman in the paper factory in Macon, Georgia. And I watched this woman for 25 years work the swing shifts, 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. She would come home filthy, smelling of pulp, tired to the bone, but she was still ever present to raise 4 girls. She taught us to dream and possibilities and not limitation. And even though we didn't have a lot of money, we were clearly the most popular house on the block, 5 women in the household. Got a little moody sometimes, but lots of love and support. But I grew up in the Deep South. Coming of age in the post-civil rights era, we faced a lot of obstacles as women, pursuing dreams that many others, particularly in the Deep South, had abandoned, and some that we didn't even dare to imagine. My journey has been one that I like to share because I think it makes a difference if you get to touch the lives of just one individual. Advancement for women over the years has brought new rewards, but it's also brought us pitfalls. We have changed this conversation when we figured out that we could go from housewife to mother to the boardroom. The battle has been fought. Some people think we won it. I think that's a question. Because sometimes I think we give up too much in order to get to that boardroom. One of the things that I think we give up is the responsibility sometimes of being healthy. And so one of the first things I would like to challenge us with is to be engaged, to fully commit ourselves to leading healthier lives. Now, I also want to make sure that I hope that I make the connection here that I believe a healthy lifestyle is clearly connected to a successful career. I believe that better health makes stronger leaders. Part of it begins separating facts from myths. So let's work on that a little bit. So by applause, please clap if you think this statement is true. When it comes to health care, women of color generally fare worse than white women across a broad range of measures in almost every state in the union. So if you think that's true, clap your hands. Second, even so, though, each racial and ethnic group of women face their own particular set of wellness and healthcare challenges. If you think that's correct, applause. And then finally, when you look at health status of women, you must also consider access, utilization, and social determinants like the availability of transportation. If you think that's true, clap your hand. Now, if you applaud it, then you've already begun this process of separating myth versus fact, particularly for women of color. In 2009, the Kaiser Foundation sponsored a state-by-state study on the disparities in women's health. They discovered that women of color fare consistently less well than white women across a broad range of measures. And in some states, those disparities were even more striking, particularly for diseases like breast cancer, hypertension, and diabetes. The disparities that we face around this country, though, are not just because of access, they also are because of quality care. Now, I know that all of us believe that the Affordable Health Care Act is going to positively impact access. However, we all know that if we gave everybody an insurance card today, it would not necessarily eliminate the disparity. So let me give you an example. Breast cancer. Many people believe that the disparity that we see with breast cancer mortality is primarily because of access and delayed diagnosis. I would like for you to consider this. Prior to Medicare coverage of mammograms, meaning that a woman can have a mammogram if she is 65 years of age, the black-white mortality rate for breast cancer was lower for black women as compared to white women, which you would expect because white women have a higher rate of being diagnosed with breast cancer. But after Medicare began to cover mammograms, we saw a reversal of the mortality rate, with more black women dying from the disease than white women, and that trend continues. So access did not change the outcome. In order to figure out why this disparity exists, we must do additional things than just provide people care. We must do research. It is really important to understand what are the environmental influences. Why is it that black women have a later diagnosis? Is it because they have more dense breasts? Those are the types of things that are really, really critical if we're going to make a difference in the disparity of any disease. If you look at the U.S. Census Project by 2050, women will make up 51% of the overall population, and the majority of those women will be a woman of color. The Bureau of Labor Statistics states that 46% of the labor pool will be women, 67% of the women with children under 18 work. And we are going to even see a greater change in that as they look at the numbers based on what's happened with the recession. Now, as I stated to you, I've always been an advocate of women. So it's been natural for me to do things that really reflect the change in demographics and say, okay, how do we need to change our thinking based on the fact that we're seeing a shift in women being more in the workforce than out of the workforce, more women being the head of household, more women putting other people first. So we got to make things accessible, yes, but we also have to recognize what the true facts are. And one of the true facts is that minority health professionals are more likely to serve minority and medically underserved population. But despite this fact, we know that there's a severe underrepresentation of minorities in the health professions. So as Sharon shared with you, one of the things that I am passionate about is giving more opportunities for women and minorities to become healthcare professionals, because the data shows that they're the ones who are going to make a difference in providing access and availability for people to receive care. The other thing that we have to make sure is that we begin to make the right decisions that change the outcome of our health. Smoking and obesity are major challenges that put women at risk. Numbers show that smoking is highest among American Indian and Alaska Native women, with high smoking rates among white women as well. And even though we've seen a decline in smoking rates, we know that they're still high across the nation. About 4 out of 5 African American women are overweight or obese. Obesity is associated with increased health care costs, reduced quality of life, and it puts women at risk for premature death. When we look at this, about 3 in 4 Mexican American women are overweight or obese, and they make up the largest portion of Latino women who are obese in this country. Now, I think there's a lot of stigma that goes with obesity and being overweight, and I think it's that BMI. Okay, that body mass index just scares everyone. Remember, it shows you the relationship between your weight and your height. So if you are 5'4" and weigh 145 pounds, your BMI is 25. But if you're 5'4" and you weigh 174 pounds, your BMI is 30. Whatever the number is, we know that there are some numbers that's been correlated to risk. What I would like for us to do is to start to think about it differently. And some of the women who've seen me at Odyssey, they know that I am an advocate for it's not your weight, it's your waist. And so Rosalind is going to show us this. You all will have bags at the end. I am a big advocate for understanding how to measure your waist. This is the most important thing that you can do. I got a little card in there that shows you how to correlate your waist size to your risk of disease, okay? Now, why would I say this is more important than getting on the scale? Because first of all, you won't get on the scale because it scares you, Okay? That's the first thing. The second reason is because when you start to exercise, and all of us know this has happened, we're exercising, and we get on the scale and we did not lose a pound. And you say, I only ate a cookie this day. I ate an apple all week, and I haven't lost a pound. Well, what is happening, of course, you're replacing that fat with muscle, and muscle weighs more. So I like for women not to be discouraged. It's not your weight, it's your weight. And so remember that, because there are diseases like type 2 diabetes, cholesterol, etc., that are correlated with the numbers that I shared with you. And if you can start to think differently about your health and not be subjected to what society is saying is the best for you, I think you will make a different decision. I also have to say, though, now, there are two things that's going to make sure that you get that waist down. You do have to decrease your caloric intake, no doubt about that. And you do have to exercise. And so when we talk about influencing, we have to influence our friends to exercise with us, but we also have to influence our friends to have a greater appreciation in ourselves of our bodies. I turned 50 last Friday, and I know that my body is changing. Okay? That's okay, because I've learned to appreciate the changes. Now, I got the best advice from a woman who was about 75 when one day I was talking about, oh, my body, and this is sagging and all this kind of stuff. And she looked at me, she said, let me tell you the thing you need to do. She said, go take a belly dancing class. Because in order to really get good with the belly dancing class, you got to move your waist, you got to shake your hips, you got to have some hips to shake. And you begin in that belly dancing class. Now, you know, Beyonce, that's what Beyonce does. Anybody, I know y'all want to be like Beyonce. That is what Beyonce does, okay? But in order to move like that, you have to start feeling differently about yourself. And so that was some great advice. And I say, when you get to that point where you're feeling really good, hold that image in your mind where you feel sexy. And you'll find out for some of you, you're a size 6. For some of you, you're a size 12. For some of you, a size 16. Some of you, a size 18. It is not the size that matter. It is really the fact of the blood pumping through your heart, your vessels being clean, and that can occur at any weight if you exercise. So say it again with me. It's not your weight, it's your weight. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this last thing that I think really makes a difference, and that is the stress in our lives. And I know I'm wanting to talk about stress in your life, but one of the things I am proud of is I got rid of this myth of being superwoman, okay? It is a concept that is overused and overabused, and I learned how to ask for help. The great thing I would tell you about my husband, he could do everything except comb my daughter's hair. Now, I would come home, and she would look a little scary, but that's okay. She was fed, she would have eaten, and those type of things you just have to give up. You just got to give up that it doesn't matter in the long run. All of you all are effective managers in what you do. Ask for help. Lighten the load. Get a team. It takes a village. It takes a village to do the things that we need to do so that we can free up the time for you and time with your family. The other thing you got to remember, Superwoman doesn't exist. And you know why she doesn't exist? Because she probably died trying to be Superwoman. And that's for real. We also finally need to work on this Cinderella ending. Now, I'm a reproductive endocrinologist and fertility specialist, okay? I have sat across the table from hundreds of women who have been waiting to have a baby, waiting for Mr. Right. They waiting for them. They got these beautiful careers. They waiting for them. They waiting for them. They get to be 41, 42, Mr. Right, it's not there. And then they're challenged. It is a myth. It is a myth that you have forever to have a baby using your own eggs. Okay? We as women have thought that we could have it all. And we can, but just not at the same time. Because our eggs only last for so long. Now, the great thing is technology does allow us to freeze eggs and freeze sperm, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just understand you're going to be making choices that are not the conventional choice, but that doesn't mean that they're not the right choice for you. So use technology. As we lead in everything we do, we recognize that women have a great responsibility. Because when you look at the number of mothers with children under 18 who are participating in the workforce in 1975, it was 47%. 2007 is 71%, and I would suspect that it's even more now. So these numbers indicate that our role in the home is changing and in the workplace is changing. Our attitudes matter. Our attitudes matter. When I think about leaving a legacy, I think about what I want my daughter to think of when she thinks about me. I want to teach her to be independent, but still to be a good wife. I want her to teach her to be fashionable, but I still want her to be the CEO of whatever company she wants to be, whether it's technology-driven or whatever. I want her to be competitive, but I still want her to kind of be girly, if that's what she wants to be. I engage her to talk about a healthier lifestyle, and I influence her because I try to share with her how important it is to embrace her power, the power that is within. Remember that there are women sitting around you who have helped you to be who you are. I always remember one of the first books I read about leadership, and that was from Gail Evans. If she wins, you win. I always reach back and pull somebody with me. I leave you with this story from my favorite book, The Alchemist, or The Alchemist, however you want to say it. It tells of a shepherd boy named Santiago who travels from his homeland in Spain to the Egyptian desert in search of a treasure built in the pyramids. He meets many along the way on his quest. Unbeknownst to him, he is after his personal legend. When he meets the king tells him he has succeeded in the discovery of his personal legend. Santiago asks the king, "What is a personal legend?" The king replies, "It's what you have always wanted to accomplish." Everyone, when they are young, knows what their personal legend is, but mysteriously over time, a force begins to convince them that it would be impossible for them to realize their personal legend. The force initially appears to be negative, but it actually shows you how to realize your personal legend. It prepares your spirit, it prepares your will, because there is one great truth on this planet. Whoever you are, or whatever it is you do, when you really want something, it's because that desire originated in the soul of the universe. It's our mission on earth. And here's my favorite part. When you want something bad enough and it's right, all the universe conspires in helping you achieve it. All the universe conspires in helping you achieve it. Desire to be more than you were yesterday, better than you are today, and more than you will ever hope to become. And when you save your sister, you also save yourself in the process. And that's how you create a pathway to greatness. Thank you very much.